You're inside the Press Box. Christian FM Sports presents Inside the Press Box, where we discuss all sports from our favorite high school team to college and pro. Here's your hosts, Paul Tipton and Gary Paris.
So here we are for another week, thanks to a win over Fort Pierce Central. Vero Beach moving on to another round of the playoffs. Thanks for joining us inside the box here. It's Paul Tipton along with Gary Paris. And Gary, last Friday night, we saw our Fighting Indians take the field, got off to a very quick start. Second quarter, though, became a different story altogether. I don't know if it was Fort Pierce defense or just Vero Beach shooting itself in the foot. Maybe it was a combination of the two, but bottom line was what we thought could have been a potentially like 35 or 40-point first half only ended up being a 21-point first half.
Absolutely, Paul. And I think it was more Vero Beach shooting itself in the foot than it was Fort Pierce Central. Vero Beach came out, took a 21-0 lead in the first quarter. They looked outstanding. I mean, the ball was being moved up and down. Defense did their job. Offense got the ball. And the game kind of made a turn. It was some penalties.
Yeah.
Some really costly penalties. Instead of being first and the ball 10 from Fort Pierce Central's 12-yard line. It was a holding call that you bring that back. You remember it was a long run.
Yeah.
Excuse me, by Bobby that got called back that didn't count for that run. Instead of being first and 10 from the 12, it turned out to be first or second and 20 from about midfield or a little bit on the other side of the side.
Yeah.
Or actually it was from the 40. And so we just weren't able to overcome some of those penalties. And that's shooting yourself in the foot. That's the kind of things that will kill a drive. Now, Vero Beach did exactly what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to win. And sometimes a win is still a W. And every coach will say, I want to be on the right side of the board. And the W is always on the right side of the board. But sometimes it can be an ugly W. And believe it or not, after the first quarter, and coaches will say, well, no, they played hard. They always want to give credit to the opposing team and say they had something to do with it. I still think Vero Beach left 4 touchdowns out there on the field last Friday night against Fort Pierce Central. And that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, we fumbled the ball on a shot at the 1-yard line. They recover it, and we don't go in and score. That's one of them. We get down there a couple other times when we had penalties. We end up kicking field goals instead of we're first and goal from the 6.
Yeah.
And we don't take it in. We end up having to kick a field goal. I mean, those are things that, Paul, you had an open date. You come into this game, you're big-time favorite. And you sometimes you just don't look as sharp as you would like for your team to look. And that's what happened Friday night. Vero won. They were supposed to win. They won 40-3, and they beat an opponent that they won the month before 50-something to 51-7, I think, or whatever.
Yeah, I think
something in that range.
50-7 is what we ended up beating.
50-77. So. You go out and you did your job, and that was what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, and I think more than anything, Gary, and maybe it's just as simple as this. I mean, we always have to remind ourselves that, you're dealing with, guys that are 15 to 18 years old, and, for them to stay focused is a challenging thing, and you got to give coaches a lot of credit that they can get those guys channeled each and every game night. But when you have a team, as Gary said, that you've played before and you've beat them big, and you're favored going in, and you get off to a hot start like that, it's real easy to start losing your focus and your mind starts wandering just enough to where we saw, sure-handed receivers dropping passes. We saw, linemen not really hitting their assignments correctly and getting hit with penalties. And then we had some turnovers and those kind of things. So those are the kind of things that, while you go, wow, you guys are really kind of picking on the guys with a 40-3 free win. Yeah, but you know that as you go to the next round and the team that we're about to talk about, you can't make those kind of mistakes. Now, I suspect, Gary, that what's going to happen is now it's the alarm has gone off and the kids have woken up, because now they've been looking at game film for the last several days, and they're looking at a team. They go, all right, we got to put our helmets on and we got to play some ball.
Well, you hit a nail right on the head, smack right on the head. The offensive line struggled, especially the second half. Some good adjustments by the defense of Fort Pierce Central. Now, you got Nick Miller, who's playing left guard.
Yeah.
Now, Nick played linebacker all year. He even played some tight end. Mm-hmm. But left guard, now we were told he had played that last year at John Carroll some during the season. And so we had to put him in there due to injuries.
Yep. We
were thin as all get out, and he had played there, and I thought he came out looking pretty good. But as the game goes on, then all of a sudden they start doing some blitzes and some stunts and some things that maybe you didn't get a chance to work on during the week. You could see the confusion out there in the line, and we took some losses, tackles for losses. We took some sacks.
Yep.
We had to hurry some passes. Those things happen. Again, you got to give credit, though, to Central for that. But the team that just had an outstanding night was our defense.
Oh, yeah.
Our defense. I mean, you could have a bad night offensively, and your defense plays as well as it did. I mean, you gave them a 21-0 lead, and all they really needed was a 7-point.
That's all they needed was one touchdown. And they would have sealed a win.
They would have sealed the win. And that was a great job they did on Friday night. And I'll tell you what, Robert Leslie's got to be very proud of his defense. And I know that they're playing. They had a scoop and score.
Yep.
Anderson
they've had so many takeaways this year, and they've made the most of those takeaways. Defensively, they have scored, and they've set the offense to have short porches and get easy scores as well. So, yeah, you can't say enough about how well this defense has played all season, but especially last Friday night.
It was fantastic the way they pounded in there. They unfortunately, and part of the ball game, they knocked their starting quarterback McLeod out.
Yeah,
and then they brought in another wide receiver type guy to play quarterback for him, and he struggled throwing the ball. But he tried to run, and he had some success for a while. Then all of a sudden, the defense adjusted, and wham!
Yeah. You almost had shades, Gary, of a few years back when Manatee made some adjustments with their quarterback and took their running back and went Wildcat, and it was kind of had some similarities there as Davis for Fort Pierce Central able to find those creases and with those quick feet pick up 5 to 7 yards of carry.
You had to go in the pass and hurt, huh? You had to dig it. That was your right. We had a kid named Lane.
Yeah,
who was all state. Mm-hmm. They brought him in and they played him at quarterback, and they ran the true option.
Yeah,
and it was either him pitch or him run. It wasn't him throwing.
Yeah,
it was either, and we had a hard time stopping that. But this kid did a decent job filling in. But the defense, when they adjusted, they stayed at home. When they played disciplined football, they shut them down. I mean, literally shut it down, and we saw that really start about midway through the third period, and to the rest of the game, Vero Beach dominated the ball. Really, at that time defensively, just super.
They certainly did. Just some final numbers here for you if you didn't catch the game or see any of the numbers. But Bobby McMillan, another solid performance, 11 carries, 48 yards. But really it was the air game on Friday night that really was the dominant force for Vero Beach's. Jackson Nairn had 16 of 31 for 250 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Bethel, 3 for 28. Leraldi had 2 for 14. Floyd had 6 for 98 and 2 scores. Bobby Mack had 5 for 106 and 2 scores. So, you hear Gary talk about this all the time. Take what's given to you. So it looked like, Fort Pierce Central decided we're going to shut down the run. So guess what? The passing game was there, and we took what was given to us and made the most of it.
I tell you what, those stats they would be more plentiful if we caught the ball better. We had a rough night on offense. Lenny has us dropping 5 balls. I thought it was more like 6, but because I always mark a little like, oh, that was a catchable on my little card right there in front of me when I do the game.
Right.
How many catchable balls that your team should have. And there may have been one that was questionable, but excuse me, I always feel that the receiver gets in his hands, he's got to get it. And no matter if it's high, below, or whatever.
And this is coming from a former receiver, by the way, folks.
Yeah, it's like you got to get your hands on it, you got to catch it. And 5 drops didn't hurt us against a team like Central, but it could hurt us against a team like Boone.
It can. And speaking of Boone, Boone had a similar situation that Vero Beach was facing. They're facing an opponent they had played earlier in the season, a blowout win, favored big going into this playoff game. And Boone took care of business. They had Windermere on Friday night, and the final score for that one was 56-6, and with Boone on top, obviously. And they took care of business. And Gary, I just taking a quick look at some stats comparatively. This will be, and we talk a lot about this. Offensively, they're mirror images, but this really will be a mirror image when you look at both quarterbacks coming in have a 60% completion percentage. Both quarterbacks, Nairn's got just a slight edge, one more touchdown pass than St. John. St. John, though, has thrown 3 more interceptions than Nairn. So you got those kind of things. But, yardage-wise, Nairn's got about maybe 300 yards more passing than St. John. Running backs, you got Bobby Mack and Lovett. For Boone, Bobby's got 886 yards and 17 touchdowns, where Lovett has only 573 and 6 touchdowns. But Boone overall has about 4 to 5 guys that have somewhere around 200 yards rushing each. So, you take a few of those away, and then it's similar. Receiver-wise, maybe Vero Beach has a slight edge, but, they're leading, Boone's leading receiver is Javion Phelps, who's got 34 catches for 564 yards and 6 touchdowns. Then they've also got their second guy, Parker St. John, 29 catches, 511 yards, 7 touchdowns. So 13 between those two guys, whereas Vero's got Bethel, 28, 441, 7, Floyd, 30, 498, and 5. Bobby Mack's got 28, 318, and 4. And then you got Leraldi with 23, 219, and 1. So there's some similarities there, but then you can see some slight edges either way.
Well, you got 2 teams that are very similar to each other. Both of them come in with 2 losses. Now, they've lost to Dr. Phillips, their opening game of the season. We know how good Dr. Phillips was. They lost down 9-6 to Palmetto, down in Palmetto. Mm-hmm. And then their last game, Edgewater beat them. And Edgewater is one of the best teams in their class.
Yeah.
And so they won all the games they were supposed to in between. And so they're coming in. They beat the team they were supposed to beat. They beat them twice. We beat our team. This is, like you said, very similar. Mm-hmm. If you put that up, it would be a mirror. You would look at yourself out there. Very similar offenses, very similar play calling, very similar to what we do, they do. It's going to come down, in my opinion, is who has the best defense.
Yep.
And I think that if Vero Beach defense continues to play like it has played especially the last few weeks, I think that Vero then will be the favorite team to win, especially at home and with our defense. I think it's going to be a tremendous challenge, but you got to go out and play it. Mm-hmm. But I like our chances with our defense because they're solid. I mean, they're only giving up less than 10 points a game now over the length of a season.
Yep.
And but they'll be challenged against a really good Boone team. I was talking to one of the beat writers for high school football at the UCF game last Saturday. Uh-huh. He was in the press box, and he and I were talking. And he says, I see Vero's got a very much improved Boone team. And that was his comments, not mine. Mm-hmm. That was what he said. And I said, yeah, we're excited about playing, Boone. We got them at home and everything. He said, you're gonna enjoy watching this team play. Now, I haven't had a chance to see Vero Beach play, but Vero Beach beat Osceola pretty good, and I didn't see that coming. So I know Vero has a good football program down there, and he said, but you're going to see a much improved Boom team from over the last few years. So it's going to be a tremendous challenge right there.
It is, and you expect that every week that you're still in the playoffs. You're going to be playing the better teams in the league overall. So now, okay, you got that first game under your belt. You can put that to rest. You start getting your practices in, and of course, you have a little bit of a challenge this week in the fact that you've got a holiday and you got family time, and those things are certainly important. Maybe this year more so than any other year, but still, any kid will tell you, anybody that's been around the game, you love playing football on Thanksgiving week, and these guys are loving it right now.
Well, that means you're in the playoffs. That's the good thing. When you're playing on Thanksgiving weekend, you're playing in the playoffs.
Yep.
And so with that, Vero Beach has a home game. They've been school's out this week. So the kids have been practicing at 9 o'clock in the morning, coming in, doing their weightlifting, and then they're getting their reps in, and then outside on the field, and then they're sending them home.
Yep.
And on Thanksgiving, the day before the game, they'll come in that morning, and they'll do a walkthrough, and just to get ready for the game, and then Friday they strap it on, and it's and here's the prize. And I call it the prize of wanting to get a chance. Vero lost 2 games this year by 1 point. They may have a chance to play the team that beat them by one of them. We won't get the other team because they're in a different class, and they don't even play in the Florida High School Athletic Association.
That's true.
And that's Clearwater Academy. But they may get a shot. And this is where I think both teams have been looking. You can't look ahead, because you're playing 2 good opponents. But you know that your path could cross again, and that's Treasure Coast next week. If Treasure Coast beats Palmetto, and that's a big if.
It is, yeah.
If Palmetto's defense is phenomenal. They got a bunch of Division I players that are on that team. Some of those kids are going to Miami. Some of them are going to other schools across the country. But they got a really great defense. And then Vero takes care of this job tomorrow. I mean, on Friday.
Yeah.
Then you're seeing that Vero Beach could be playing Treasure Coast again in Vero. What a thrill that would be to happen, but we can't get there yet. We got to beat Boone. I'm just talking. I can say it on podcast.
I'm totally shocked you're even talking about this game right now.
Well, but we got to let our audience know that this is the prize that's sitting out there for the winner of this game. So,
well, the prize that's sitting out there is a state championship. That's the prize that's sitting out there, GP.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, hey, we want to wish all of you a very happy Thanksgiving as you get set for a special week here. We're going to be getting set not only for Thanksgiving, but getting ready for this football game on Friday night. I do know that there were some tickets still available, even though they're still limited to 1,500. So if you want to find out more about that, you just go to VeroBeachFootball.com, and you can find out a little bit more information about how you can get a hold of some tickets for this game on Friday night, because we'd love to have all of our fans out there and cheering on our team. It is going to be the Braves taking on the Indians on Friday night. Playoff race still in effect for Vero Beach, so if they can win, they can move on, possibly face an old foe in the next round. It's been Inside the Press Box with Paul Tipton along with Gary Parris. We'll see you on Friday night. If not, go Indians.
Thanks for joining us inside the Press Box. For more, go to ChristianFM.com.